episode 6 of Francofille, a creative podcast. My name is Devin, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry at bdevin. On Ravelry, we also have a phenomenal group of people chatting away on our podcast group. You can find that by searching Francofille in the group tab on Ravelry. Stop by, say hi, introduce yourself in the introductions thread. If you've got any questions for me, really about anything you want, go ahead and post those on the, I think I've got like an ask away or ask me anything thread there too. I think it's pinned up to the top of the thread, the top of the forum, so please feel free to ask anything there. Show notes and things like that also can be found in the Ravelry group. Full disclosure, it is 2:20 on Wednesday afternoon, and I've already had 2 or 3 glasses of champagne today, which is not normal, not a normal habit for me. I will start with that, but Jordan and I got some really fantastic news today we're really excited about, and yeah, I will be sharing what that news is and all that probably in the next week or two. We still haven't told our families and all of our friends, or even everyone in our professional lives we need to tell, so we have to do all of that before I can share the news with you guys, which I'm sure you can understand. But in the meanwhile, there's cool stuff going on with my knitting too. But yeah, if I'm a little extra, I don't know, distracted and excited, that I figured I should at least own up to why that might be. Let's just dive right in. It's gonna be a fairly short episode this week. Like I mentioned last week, I'm working on getting myself on a Wednesday filming schedule instead of a Thursday/Friday filming schedule. So I think it's only been like 4 or 5 days since I last recorded, so not a ton of knitting or crafting or anything like that to talk about, but there's some stuff, and I really do want to try and keep myself on schedule, so doing my best not to skip weeks. At least not for now. I am wearing my color blocked Color Affection, which you guys are probably sick of hearing about at this point, as I think I've mentioned it in every single episode so far. But yeah, it's comfy, it's cozy, I've been wearing it a lot. It gets the job done. I actually do have something off my needles this week, in the last couple days. So like I have said, I know for sure, I'm using this podcast as a way to document my kind of diving into developing and my own designs for knitwear. And so, I've done some socks and smaller things in the past. I've definitely done a lot of tweaking existing patterns in the past, and I'm kind of on the point of really designing and writing up my own patterns. And while I know a lot of people can be very secretive with their designs and things like that, with the goal behind that is to not get scooped, not let somebody not show off your design before it's ready, and then somebody else kind of beat you to the punch with a design of their own that looks amazingly similar or is, I don't know, more or less expensive, something like that. Which, I totally get, I totally respect. As an academic, I totally get that, since people in my world, my professional world, can kind of be that way on projects they're working on. But I don't know, I don't have that many viewers just yet, and I'm new enough to the game that I'm not that concerned. But also, I do want to kind of, there's not a lot out there right now on the design process. Do you know what I mean? On how you come up with a design, how what are the hurdles that you might encounter as you're designing something, that kind of stuff. So I know it would be useful for me if somebody else were to do this as well, so I figure I'll share this information with you. Maybe you can benefit from it. Anyway, so I've showed you guys the Amboise shawl in the past. It's a big lace triangular shawl. You can see it's fairly long. This central motif definitely Some awesome lace going on there. And I am super thrilled with the gray part of this, right? With how those lace motifs worked up. I've made some notes as I was knitting this up and yeah, making adjustments to the pattern as I go. But yeah, really, really happy with the way that turned out. However, I am really less than thrilled with the border that I've got on here. Which, I mean, I blocked it. I tried my best to block the hell out of this border, and it just really, it didn't open up the way I wanted it to. It's a lot tighter than I was hoping. It's just not laying correctly. But I mean, that's what I mean about wanting to share this with you guys, because this was the first time I tried doing an applied border like this on my own, and I wasn't working off of somebody's pattern where they had already kind of worked out the kinks. So I think next time if I were to try doing an applied border like this, I would size up my needles or maybe go with a slightly thicker yarn. The gauge definitely needs to be lower. Is that what I want? Yeah, there needs to be fewer stitches per inch, I think, for this style of border in order for it to have the right drape and for it to be able to block comfortably, if that makes sense. I was having issues where if I were to try and really block this border aggressively, it was distorting the lace in the main body of the shawl, which is not what I want. I really do want those nice clean lines in the shawl to kind of give it that more architectural feel, since I'm, you know, inspired by an architectural work here. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board for the border. And I may end up ripping out this white lace border. But, you know, proof of concept for the main body of the shawl. Definitely fantastic. Really, really thrilled with how that turned out. It really blocked up nicely. It's got the drape that I'm looking for. The lace motifs are showing up the way I want them to. I'm actually really thrilled with, let's see, lighting is good? Yeah, with this central lace motif. See if I can hold it in such a way that you can see it a little bit better. Yeah, this one here. You can see where it's kind of against my shirt there. Really, really excited with the way that one turned out. I really like this yarn that I'm using, this merino and silk blend, where the stitches are just showing up really nicely. They're not overpoweringly clear. There's not too much stitch definition that it's distracting from the lace, but it gives a good dimension. It also has really good drape, which is nice. So yeah, I think I'm definitely a convert to silk wool blends for shawl knitting, especially like lace knitting. So yeah, Knit Picks Gloss, which is also a really affordable wool silk blend too, so definitely go check that out. But yeah, I may as well just dive into what's on my needle. So this version 1 I'm happy with. I've got notes, I'm gonna be making modifications. Version 2 already up on my needles. Actually knitting on this a little bit while waiting for my hair appointment this morning. Real life. I've definitely gotten in the habit of just bringing this and really any knitting with me anywhere I go, because I've got downtime a lot of the time. May as well get some work done. You can see I've actually put a good dent in this to in the last 24 hours. I think I had just cast this on 2 nights ago and had gotten to about maybe here. All of that was done yesterday. Actually knits up fairly quickly for me, partly because it's the second time I'm knitting it, but even the first time I was knitting it around, the way I've got the lace going on, I don't know if you can see that, but I've got these purl columns, which essentially act like built-in stitch markers, so it's easy to remember which motif you're on as you're knitting it around. And the motifs are really, really easy to memorize. So that definitely helps too. You can really just pick it up and go. I think I'm gonna have some fun writing it up too. Yeah, so like I said, I cast this on 2 nights ago, and I am knitting this in this gorgeous cake. Look at that. Love this. This is Wool & Vine Yarns in the Narwhal base. Right, the colorway is Jilted Rose, and it is a BFL silk and cashmere blend. Again, that silk wool blend, really love for lace knitting. The cashmere just gives it that extra softness too, which I am not complaining about. I mentioned this last week, I think it's how I was saving it for something special. This counts as something special. I'm really excited about it. Yeah, I love that it's just this really nice tonal colorway. So the lace ends up showing up really nicely too. Haven't quite figured out what I'm going to pair with it for the border, because I do want it to be a larger shawl more than a shawlette. Something that, you know, you can comfortably tie around the back of your neck. And it's not going to come loose on you. But yeah, I'm really excited about this. And I'm really glad that I decided to stick with this pattern and not just toss this and move on to something else. Though I'm still gonna have to figure out what I'm gonna do for the edging. Again, I've got some ideas. I know I'm not gonna do this style of edging again, at least not for this pattern, and not without making some serious modifications. I feel like this, picking up and doing a perpendicular border, would be good on like a semicircular shawl, something like that instead, but whatever. Those design notes we can probably talk about again once I get this thing to a point where I'm ready to add a border. But yeah, and thank you again, continual thanks to everyone who's reached out about test knitting. I continue to be just completely overwhelmed by the amount of phenomenal support you guys are giving me. I almost don't even believe it. It's too good to be true. Yeah, so thank you. And I'm thinking I may have this finished by next week. Well, I mean, at least the lace body. Gonna have to figure out what I'm doing with the border situation soon. This weekend I'm probably not gonna have a ton of time to work on it. I'm gonna be up in, let's say Chicago, but really more the Chicago land area this weekend for a sorority conference. So I'm not actually gonna have a ton of knitting time this weekend, but I may have time to sneak in a quick trip to Niche, which is this phenomenal yarn store in Downers Grove, Illinois, that I only recently discovered. I grew up maybe 5 miles away and I only discovered it this year. I don't know how that happened, but I think I'm gonna have to stop in there and get something good for the border. You know, maybe if I've got the right yarn to inspire me, that'll help me come up with what I want. I've got some ideas. I've got some more ideas, but we'll see. So yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on that. Other than that, sorry. This is how you know I've been running around today. It's been a weird day for me. It's been a little bit weird. I'm drinking Starbucks instead of my normal homebrewed stuff. Not normal for me, but just a grande latte. Fairly boring order, but my favorite there. Hopefully the caffeine from the espresso will help balance out that champagne buzz. That's how that works, right? Anyway, the other thing that's on my needles that I've been working on is this Patent Croix sock. Patent Croix Socks FX in the Clover Colors colorway. Totally standard sock yarn. You guys have seen this forever, but I continue to make progress, which is nice. I'm basically only knitting on this when I'm knitting with people, which is part of why it's both grown and taken so long to grow. Yeah, you can see I've got down to the foot, turns that heel just fine, got the cuff, all that good stuff. The slip stitch heel and gusset there you can see a little bit better than you could last week. Yeah, this is honestly my favorite style of heel to do. Really like the way the gusset fits and all that. I mentioned last week that the gauge on this is way tighter than I'm used to. I actually sat down and measured it out while chatting with somebody this weekend, and I've got a good 9.5 stitches per inch in this, which is really, really high for me. My average sock gauge is 8 stitches per inch. So to bump it up to 9.5, I mean, that's definitely why this is knitting up slower. And also why I'm almost out of yarn. I may end up playing yarn chicken with this, which never happens to me. Usually I only need about 40 grams of fingering weight yarn to make socks for myself, because as you can see, I don't really do a really long calf on these. This is, I mean, it's a little bit longer of a calf than I usually do. Sorry, the color is really just not showing up quite right. There we go. But, you know, using the size zeros on this and doing the number of stitches I'm doing, it's eating up a lot more yarn than is normally the case for me. But I think I've got another couple inches, maybe inch or two of just knitting stockinette in the round before I get to my toe decreases. And I think I've got 10 grams of sock yarn left in this ball. So fingers crossed. I'm honestly gonna be pissed if I run out of yarn before I finish this sock and have to rip it all the way out. But guys, this pair is just gonna take forever. This is a little bit demoralizing for me too, because I never take this long to knit socks. I don't know what happened, and I'm kind of wondering why I even own these needles. I must never have knit socks on these before. I don't know how. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I can usually get a pair of socks knit up in a week, and that's taking it slow. I mean, I've also been knitting on other stuff too, but yeah, that's where we're at. I'll keep you posted on these two. Speaking of knitting in public, I've been doing a lot of knitting in public and knitting with people recently, which is not normally something I'm all about. I'm very much a solitary knitter. I'm very much an introverted, that was weird, introverted person, just by nature. I like being on my own, being at home in my little nest here on my couch. And especially with, my job, having to go in and essentially perform for students when I'm teaching and having to be on and dealing with colleagues and office hours and all that kind of stuff. When I'm home and just hanging out and have some downtime, I really do just want to be home and by myself. That was kind of part of what always appealed to me about knitting, right? Is that it is something that I can just do on my own and be cocooned in my own little personal bubble and be totally happy. But I'm starting to see the appeal of, I mean, obviously reaching out and being part of a community of knitters, right? With YouTube, with Instagram, with Ravelry. I've kind of been forcing myself out of my bubble a little bit more, and it's been great. Because knitters are good people. No one is surprised by that. But like I mentioned last week, one of my colleagues is just learning how to knit now, and we have been getting together. We're on the path to meet twice a week to get together to knit, which is awesome. Yeah, she's great. Like I said, she's a colleague. We've worked together on research and teaching and things like that, but you know, it's nice having somebody you can also be friends with outside of work. So yeah, so we're getting together tonight to knit again. And we got together on Saturday this past weekend, to get together and knit, but also to go to one of the local yarn stores because one of her friends' wives is a local knitwear designer, and she was showing off her new patterns, and she's going to be hosting a knit along through one of the yarn stores. And now I'm really kicking myself for not getting her contact info and Ravelry info to share with you guys, because her stuff is really cool. She does a lot of children's wear, and if I had tiny humans to be knitting for, I know exactly where I would get patterns for them, because she's just got this really great eye for knitwear that looks really cute and really good on kids. But yeah, so we went to the yarn store. I met her, saw her patterns, and I will be sure to get that info so I can share it with you, because it's really worth sharing. But we also, Kelly and I, my friend, kind of looked at the yarn and stuff like that, and I had fun kind of getting to kind of explain the different yarns to her, right? Because I mean, when she jumped into knitting, she jumped straight into the deep end, right? Straight into Malabrigo, right? None of that starting off with acrylic that most of us go through. Yeah, she just jumped straight into the good stuff. So I had some fun showing her that, well, yes, the 3 different weights of Malabrigo and bases of Malabrigo she's knit with so far are all phenomenal. There is more to the yarn world than just Malabrigo. Yeah, so kind of talking to her about the different blends of yarn, the different weights, different fiber contents, things like that, and you know, why you would use different things, you know, and matching yarn to patterns and things like that. And I mean, that's not something that I am by any means an expert in, I've definitely had some missteps along the way, but you know, I want to be able to share whatever knowledge I have with her, but also, you know, imagine what I would knit up with all these various yarns. So that was a lot of fun too. And yeah, like I said, we're meeting up again tonight to knit. I think I'm going to bring my shawl instead of that sock, because I'm enjoying the shawl way more than that sock right now. Yeah, that's really what's been going on with me over the last couple days. What else is going on? I've been having fun spinning still. Haven't made a huge dent in that braid. Not like my first night with the ounce or 1.2 ounces spun all in an evening, but you know, I'm continuing to go, and I'm having fun realizing. Help it focus, maybe? People do this. I assume it's to help it focus. Nope, doesn't want to. But I'm having fun really getting, you know, figuring out how to have that really awesomely thin single. Which I don't know if you can see how thin it is. Right, it's awesomely thin. But yeah, I'm really just playing with it right now. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. But I'm having fun and I'm playing, and yeah. Other than that, what else is going on? Oh, I did want to share a couple more podcast recommendations with you guys, things that I'm enjoying. Rather than just list everybody I've been watching recently, because that list gets longer and longer. Hi, sorry about that cut there. I actually got a phone call in the middle of recording, which I guess is one of the hazards of recording these episodes on my phone. My birthday's coming up and I'm looking into getting a different camera, so hopefully that won't have to happen again. But I believe I was in the middle of talking about how I want to be a little more mindful with my podcast recommendations, you know, rather than just give you a laundry list of all the episodes, all the podcasts I've been watching over the last week. Kind of giving you a little bit more detail about what I like about each of a couple specific podcasts. So today I'm going to talk about two that I've been enjoying recently. The first is Stitched in Sweden with Maria, and the second is Mandarins with Melody. And I'm grouping them together because I think they both have sort of a similar vibe that I really like. They're both Maria and Melody are very, very calm, inviting, sweet people who, you know, are really easy to listen to and watch. I don't know, there's just something very calming about the way they talk about their knitting and their designing and everything like that. They do both design as well as knit, and their aesthetics I find both really appealing. There's something really organic about the stuff that they design, especially their shawls. And yeah, they both just have a really awesome approach to knitting and all that sort of thing. Yeah, so I will link to both their Ravelry groups and their YouTube channels in the show notes on Ravelry. Other than that, I wanted to say thank you to Candace of Pin Feathers and Pearls, whose podcast I absolutely love, and she mentioned me in her last episode, so I wanted to return the favor. You know, she's hilarious, so definitely check her out. Her stuff is great. And also wanted to say hi and thank you again to the ladies of Get Lit Knit, who are also phenomenal. We'll continue to recommend them. Yeah, they crack me up. So yeah, other than that, I think that's really everything I've got for you guys today. Other future projects and things like that, I think I will save for next time. But other than that, I will see you guys again next week.